Before we move along, we have one other thing to take care of tonight, and I'd like to invite former board member Steve Spence to present this year's Cassin Award. Steve, if you please join me on the stage. Big round of applause for Steve, please.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you're having as much fun tonight as our students are. They just don't know it yet. I'd like to know how many of you would like to follow in this order: Coach Brodius, Oscar, Juan, Alonzo, and Kadisha, and me. Not good. There's that saying about the hay that makes the horse go. And one of the big things about this institution forever has been that our endowment has been, many of you who are in this room this evening who are employers of our students. And these kids come to your workplace and they work for you a day a week, and they do that for about 10 months a year. And they're earning about half the cost of their education. These kids are earning half the cost of their education. And I will tell you, as a former employer myself, we got better than we gave. This is a miraculous place. But it turns out there are some things besides hay that are required. We got a fair amount of hay, but sometimes there are some things that we can't pay for in bales. And the operating budget of this school has really always been dependent upon our students and the generosity of all of you in the room tonight and at the other events that we have, and the not-for-profits who support us that aren't associated with these events. And having had the great good fortune of being involved out here for a long time, this is a miracle. Sometimes miracles have helpers. I had the wonderful experience when I was 28 years old of meeting James F. Miller. Jimmy worked at the investment bank that I worked for, and he ran the office in Portland before moving to New York. I was given the opportunity to come up here and to manage the operations here about 15 or 20 years after Jim did, and there was a little plaque that was hanging on the wall in my office. And it was a confirmation that the New York Stock Exchange produced when there was a large trade. And it was the largest trade ever executed on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange at the time. It was for an Oregon company, Diamond International, that had a mill down in Bend, making matches and other lumber products. That was the largest single trade ever done on the floor of the exchange by a gentleman running an office in Portland, Oregon. It's a pretty special place. Jimmy went on to go back to New York and became actually president of the firm after being back there not too many years, one of the 10 largest investment banks in the country. Jimmy said that the greatest regret of his life was not being able to complete his education. He started as a board marker for the firm, literally in the days when they would mark the trades up on the wall with a piece of chalk. After about 2 years of doing work there, the people in the office here in Portland recognized he was a pretty exceptional person. And they sent him, I don't know how this happened, up to the University of Washington, sorry about that, where he completed his freshman year. And at the end of that year, before he had an opportunity to go back, we had a recession. This was pre-depression. We had a recession. They couldn't afford to send him back the next year. So Jimmy's education, he graduated from high school at age 16, came out of Linton, up the road. I have no idea how he got to Lincoln High School from Linton every day, but he did. Graduated at age 16, went into industry as a board marker of all things, and became the president of one of the most significant investment banks in the country in New York. He married a marvelous woman by the name of Marion who passed away when they were in New York. Jimmy decided he wanted to come home to Oregon. He did. When he was in New York, they had started a foundation. And God bless, Jimmy brought the foundation with him. Apparently made the change in zip codes along with him. It is with great pleasure that I have an opportunity to introduce you to Alice McCarr, who's here with us tonight. Alice, I don't know where you are. I didn't see you before I sat down. Where are you? And I can't see with the lights. Come up here, please. So, Alice, we are here to recognize the most significant gift that this school has ever received. Jimmy had made a donation to Marylhurst University as a believer in education, particularly for the people who were underserved, and Marylhurst primarily served their constituency. Their average student was a female, age 38, with 2 children and divorced. And when Nancy Wilgenbush told Jimmy the story about Marylhurst, Jim was so taken by it that he agreed to endow a scholarship fund for $1 million. And that fund carried on for maybe 20 years, Alice, something like that. So there are a lot of women and men in this community who benefited by Jimmy's support. Most of you may know that Marylhurst closed about 18 months ago after a very long run of doing some very special work. They weren't bankrupt. They simply recognized that their business model wasn't continuing to work as well as it once did, and they made a very brave decision. But that left this scholarship, which at the time had grown to about $1.5 million, I think. Is that right, Alice? And it turns out that the state of Oregon feels that they should have a role in deciding where that money goes when an institution closes. And the Miller Foundation stepped forward, and I'm going to, my words, not yours, and encourage the state that the appropriate place for that money to go was De La Salle. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you Alice McCarr, who has been a board member since the start? Since we started. That's been a while. And it is their commitment to education that is the heartbeat of what they do, education in the arts, and education comes first. So would you all please join me in thanking the Miller Foundation for their great generosity.
Well, first I must say that I'm humbled by the generosity across the room tonight, and I have to say thank you to all of you. This is, De La Salle is very close to our heart, and we really appreciate your generosity. I want to just say thank you for this award, this thank you, on behalf of our staff and our board chair, Chuck Putney, who I know many of you know. And I want to just give a shout out to Martha Richards, our executive director. And just on behalf of all of us at the Miller Foundation, thank you for this award. Good night.